Boy, was I really wrong. The UCLA Bruins not only win their regional, they utterly dominate every other team in the Los Angeles regional. And now, where are they headed? They're staying home. They're going to the Supers.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. It's your team every day. Welcome back, everydayers. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. What we're talking about today, UCLA Baseball. I came out, I said it. I didn't think this team would win. I thought they would lose to UC Irvine. And was I wrong? UCLA stomped the competition 3-0, leading Fresno State 4-0, leading Arizona State 7-0. And then, for good measure, they were playing UC Irvine, my projected pick to win this Los Angeles Regional, and led 8-0 before eking out an 8-5 win against the Anteaters. When they were rallying, the Bruins were like, no, this is not happening. So UCLA up 8-0 in the early innings. And the concern for this team is still very much their pitching. All right, very much their pitching. But what did UCLA unleash in this game? Well, the Bruins were able to bring out Wyland Moss, who went 3 1/3, 60 pitches, and then used a total of six pitchers. And then they were able to keep their pitches to low pitch counts. Nobody threw more than 30 in the first few games. That helps when you're dominant, helps when you can rock and roll. And Easton Hawk, limited need in game 2, only needed to throw 13 pitches in game 3. And UCLA didn't have to blow up their bullpen. They didn't have to blow up their starting staff and overuse some of these guys, because sometimes the wear and tear of winning an opening regional will carry over to a super regional. That's not the case for UCLA, because they came out and beat UC Irvine, who is a really good ball club out of the Big West. I've seen them play in person, and I was impressed. In the end, the Bruins like, yeah, Zach, you're an idiot. And I'm glad, because I despise everything that UC Irvine is. Not the coaching staff or the players, but I just a personal disdain for the fellow UC school. And the Bruins with Dean West, 2 for 2 2-runs. Rock Chalowski, a couple of RBIs, 1 for 2. Mulavai Levu, 2 for 5 and 3 RBIs. And then Peyton Brennan, who you could argue was the player of the regional. I know Roman Martin came out there, had a run, an RBI, had a big swing the other day, and Levu led the team in RBIs. But Peyton Brennan, if I'm not mistaken, had multiple hits in all 3 games for the LA Regional. He was the guy that lengthened their lineup down to the 6th spot. All right, it's one thing if you're leaning on Chalowski, who's going to get all the hype, going to get all the love as the scouts start to watch him more, as you start to see him more on national television, as the Bruins make their run through the NCAA tournament. Dean West, Levu, you see this sophomore class blossoming before our very eyes. They've been challenged, maybe not so much as we've seen in years past, but the turnaround from John Savage, one of the worst years in his tenure as the head coach is UCLA, and then they turn around, compete for a Big Ten title, compete for a Big Ten tournament title, and now they're in the Supers after dominating Irvine, Arizona State, and Fresno State to the tune of just utter domination. All right? Utter domination for this UCLA team. They scored 19 runs against Fresno State. They scored 11 against Arizona State, so 30 in the first 2 games. And then, by the way, another 8th spot against Irvine, 38 runs in 3 games. 38 runs in 3 games. And these are all teams that have good pitchers. Now, it helps when you're 2-0, you're going to face somebody's number 4 starter, their ace reliever, who's a bit burned out by the time they played their 4th game in 3 days. That's what happens when you're the regional host and you take care of business in those first 2 games. And what I thought was a tough regional ended up being one of the easier regionals. You look at all the other teams across the country in the NCAA tournament, one goes down in Vandy. UCLA is the 15 seed matched up with Texas. You see UTSA, Texas San Antonio, the Roadrunners. They upset the Texas Longhorns. And now UCLA gets to host the Super for pretty much the last time ever at Jackie Robinson Stadium, with that stadium situation in flux, the extra extension on the lease. I don't really know and kind of have forgotten how it's all going to go with the future of UCLA's stadium, Jackie Robinson Stadium, because they don't own the land. They're on leased land that allowed UCLA to build a stadium and lease it with the Veterans Affairs. So we'll see how it plays out. But this could very well be the last Super. And if the Bruins take down a Roadrunner team, who is still very good, they're 47-13. They went 23-4 in conference, 25-2 at home, and just ran through the Austin Regional. I was like, okay, maybe there's a chance UCLA is like, wow, were they gift wrapped an Omaha berth? Or is this going to be a tougher weekend than it was last week? I think I'm going to lean on the latter than what UCLA did in the dominant opening weekend. Because when you go to a 2 seed and beat them down, you see all those overrated SEC teams full of tomfoolery and garbage. There were 13 teams in this tournament? So there's a lot of SEC teams, a lot. And the maximum they can get at this recording is 3, 4. They all were falling, all of them. Now the highest rated team left is unfortunately an SEC team. Arkansas is the 3 seed, made it. But look at all these other teams. Look at all these other teams. It's like, wow, this is underdog central, Texas San Antonio. You had Little Rock battling it out with LSU. You have so many fun teams that's making the sport in a wide open year. UCLA searching for the second national championship, one to end the season of all seasons here in 2025. I know that unexpected. It was unexpected back in 2013 when they won their first one, pitching and defense. This is literally the opposite. It is defense and hitting. Because they're pitching, it's leaning on weak. Let guys get on, turn double plays, playing clean defense, and swing the bats and crush the ball. In the way they've been swinging it, it's not just, oh, by the way, they're playing Big Ten competition. No, they played a good Big 12 team, a good Big West team. The Mountain West winner destroyed them. Now you play UTSA and UCLA, expected Friday through Sunday series, still awaiting those scheduled times. The Bruins are coming out ready to play. Absolutely ready to play. And I'll take it. I looked like a fool. Came out and said, Irvine's going to win. I doubt the Bruins. I doubted them. And they shoved it right back in my face. And I'll take that. But if I'm wrong about them doing bad and they do good, you know what? I'll take the reverse jinx. Not going to claim it. You can't claim a reverse jinx. But it was great. It's absolutely great for the Bruins, who would love to end this academic calendar year with a championship. At least an Omaha berth. With what this team has, sophomores turning into juniors next year, there'd be a lot of expectations. There'd be a lot of wonder, but potentially the last time they get to call this stadium home this deep into the tournament. Let's send them out with some glory, with a bang. Represent for that team in 2019 that was the number 1 seed and fell in the Supers to Michigan, who ended up making it to the College World Series championship game. Here's the chance if you're UCLA. There's so many top seeds that did not make it through. Oregon went 2-0. There are so many teams that are fighting their way through the losers bracket just to get to the regional final and force that Game 7. And UCLA's like, yeah, we're going to stay up till midnight because we got stuck with the 8 p.m. game because scheduling was terrible. I don't know why they put a 3 p.m. game and a 7 p.m. game back-to-back in LA, but they did. And UCLA played an incredibly long game. That's what happens in college baseball in the postseason. And a nearly 4-hour game ended up close to midnight. The Bruins got that final out, and they're super. All right, and they're taking on Texas San Antonio. Let's talk a little bit about it next. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO that gives you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's complete financial command center. So when you're like, oh, I can track all my accounts, investments, spending, all in one place, stop managing your money and start building wealth. And when you're managing your money with your partner, it's smoother than ever because you can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, stay on the same page without the stress, all because when you start using Monarch, it's like, wait a minute, we're spending that much in food delivery and entertainment? Well, now you can budget smarter and save a lot more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, cruising on second segment here for the Locked On UCLA podcast, the Bruins. This is the opportunity in front of them. This is how much craziness, with still some games going on in the regional round, in front of the Bruins. You're playing an unseeded team that I think is very good in Texas San Antonio and the Roadrunners. where you beat them. The other two teams that UCLA could have faced, the Ole Miss regional, the Georgia regional, those are also won by unseeded teams. And when I say face, you get through Texas San Antonio, that would be your opening matchup in the Men's College World Series. It'd be Duke and Murray State. Now, if you're about underdogs, of course, everybody would want to cheer for Texas San Antonio and Murray State. If you're about basketball blue bloods, you want to see some ACC action versus Big Ten action. You'd love to see UCLA Duke, the clash of the blues with the blue bloods in basketball. Or if you're UCLA, like, what if Murray State comes through and upsets another team? All right, it was not so long ago that Oral Roberts made a dramatic run to Omaha. And this year, we're on the verge of probably seeing one of these crazy teams make it to Omaha. All right, this could be one of those years where you're like, man, that was an unseeded team. We had a wild team. Like, remember, Coastal Carolina won it in 2016 over Arizona. This is like one of those years. Maybe it's a West Virginia. Arizona is still in it. They're taking on North Carolina. Or could it be UCLA's year? Let's take a quick look at the Roadrunners. It's not a super in-depth overview. I can do that a little later. But this is where UCLA comes in, taking on a Roadrunner team, 47-13, absolutely dominant at home, and went 23-4 in the AAC. So for their guys who have played close to 50 games, close to 50 starts, you've got 6 players who've hit 300 or more. You can go deep down the lineup, be like, all right, this is a team that can swing and hit it out of the ballpark. 2 players who've hit 10 or more home runs, but a decent tendency to ground into double plays, and that's UCLA's strength. They lead the country in double plays turned. So if this team in Texas San Antonio, which has hit 27 ground ball double plays, 27 ground ball double plays, UCLA, I think, has turned more than 60, if I got that stat remembered correctly, prior or during the regional round, whenever I saw that. This is a team that can turn into double plays, but they love to run. Overall, they've hit 66 home runs. They've allowed some home runs, but they will run, and they do so successfully. 73 stolen bases in 88 attempts. All right, now their opponents haven't been as successful at stealing bases against them, but the runners will run, literally their name, their mascot, the nickname, they will run, and they do so at a very high clip so far, and they have a .978 fielding percentage. So they'll run, they'll play some defense, and these are some of the pitching arms that you have to look out for. Robert Orlowski. He's not going to start the game. This is where if you're UCLA, you want to get ahead early, which is exactly what they've done all 3 games. They have not had to trail late, have to grip with the game tight, when the game's tied. They just haven't had to deal with that. They've been in front in the first, second, third inning, 4-0, 7-0, 8-0. The leads keep getting bigger against arguably the better teams later in the tournament. Now it's, a little different when you're facing the number 1 starter and then the number 2 starter, and then your 3 or 4 or 5th option in some cases later in the regional, where UCLA is going with the mix and match. John Savage is like, all right, it's not our strength, but if we get ground ball outs, we're going to get 2 outs with 1 pitch. So Orlowski is a guy with a ERA just under 3.3, 26 appearances, 9 saves, 8-0. All right, has a 216 batting average against. So this is the guy that can come in relief, has not started in any of his 26 appearances. He is the guy that's been used the most by the Roadrunners, and hey, he could strike it out, and he limits the free passes. Then you'll see the rest of their starting rotation, a combined, if I can do the math quickly, 21-7. Their starting rotation got the bulk of the starts, 21-7 from Braylon Owens, Connor Miles, Zach Royce. ERA's over 4, but you would see the same thing on UCLA's side of things. Only one of them is more of a strikeout machine, but they have a tendency to give up home runs. Even Orlowski, Owens, Miles, all of them, they've combined to give up 79 home runs with their entire pitching staff. So this could be one of those where if UCLA hits it out of the ballpark, gets a big swing, gets on base early, 3-run blast, that is the recipe for success in this weekend. I'm not sure you can go to Omaha and do the same thing because the field in Omaha doesn't exactly play to home run central, but this is where the Bruins could come through and get the job done. And if you're UCLA, you're like, man, only 8 teams so far have won 8 hosts. 8 hosts of the 16 at this point have made it, which means you got at least 6 going home. You've got 7 or 8 maybe going home. 50% clip of teams winning their hosted regional. That's not what the numbers back up. It's just not. And when you see a day and age where it's been almost all SEC in the sport of college baseball in recent years, we could see some new blood in Omaha, see some new championship material in UCLA in a year where I wasn't a big believer just yet. You might need to hop on the bandwagon, and I'm putting in my application. I'm signing it. I'm trying to. It might have left me in the dust, but I'm trying to hop on. All right, John Savage, can I hop on? Can I catch up? I don't know. But the Bruins have a great opportunity, a glorious opportunity to wrap up things at home and get to Omaha, and then you never know because you're facing an unseeded team. When you win your regional, they're super. If they get there, they're facing an unseeded team in that opening game. And you win that opening game, that sets you up for so much more success to get through the regional portion of the Men's College World Series and maybe be one of the more crazy runs you'll ever see. Crazy things happen in baseball, college baseball every year. And after a dominant 1 versus 2 or 3 last year, where it was a lot of SEC teams, a lot of SEC flavor, Tennessee, you've seen the Ole Misses, you've seen the Mississippi States in recent years. Why not UCLA? Bring college baseball back to its tradition, back to the West Coast, and say, hey, this Big Ten move was good for us in quite a few sports. We saw the UCLA women close to a Big Ten title, Big Ten tournament title close to it, and gets the Women's College World Series. UCLA, co-Big Ten regular season champs, Big Ten tournament runners-up, and on the doorstep, as the last remaining Big Ten team to getting to the pinnacle of the sport, which is Omaha. My favorite, personal favorite event of all the college championships. And maybe I'm biased, I'm a big baseball fan, but having seen it, lived it, breathed it, it is one of the best events. And UCLA getting there, that could just set the stage for next year when you've got a lot of talented sophomores. I would expect to return, obviously, with eligibility, the draft eligibility a year away. You keep a good nucleus for this team, and the sky's the limit, which still a lot to play for right now. And we'll talk about it when we play the Roadrunners leading up to it and they release the schedule. Next up for UCLA and Locked On UCLA, we'll talk a little bit about football scheduling. We'll talk everything in the spring, what's going on in the offseason, basketball, football, everything. So stay tuned here on Locked On UCLA. Get your hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.